Hello everyone, and welcome to Gamesplaning, where we have a look at certain games and explain them. Now, today we're having a look at The Darkest Dungeon, which is a strategy game and a upgrading game, I guess you could say it. Now this game was quite popular with streamers when it was released, because you can name your characters and a lot of characters die. A lot of this game is about doing the best you can about a bad situation, because most of the things that you do go badly. So, to begin with, here we are, we'll be looking through some of the buildings that you have in your hamlet. Now, the game is set up basically in two parts. You have the combat phase, where you go into the ruins around the hamlet and gather relics, money, things like this. And then you also have the second phase, which is the building phase, or upgrading phase, I guess you could say, where you use these relics, the money that you gathered, to upgrade your heroes, your mercenaries, and to upgrade the buildings in your hamlet. Now, upgrading the buildings makes it so that your heroes become better, you can treat them better, you can like remove negative quirks that they've gained. We'll go through that in a bit, but like the blacksmith, he can upgrade the weapons and armor of your heroes. You have the guild, I think it's called, that can upgrade different abilities, and they can learn new abilities depending on their class. And you also have the stress-relieving buildings, which are, well, they're a bit of a different kind of thing. Stress is a way to kill your characters as well. And it's quite dangerous. It's almost more dangerous than losing health. So, one of my favorite things about this game, though, is the announcer. Or the announcer, I guess you could call him. The voiceover guy, he makes such an awesome job. Like, listen here. This is gonna be good.
These salt-soaked caverns are teeming with pelagic nightmares. They must be flushed out.
How is that not fucking amazing? That voice, oh, Jesus, it's so good. But yeah, here you can see me going through the blacksmith, just checking through my units, weapons, and armor. So, you can have, as you can see, I have a lot of heroes, a lot of mercenaries. You can have a lot of them, but you need to level them up. And these guys are very arrogant. So you see those guys with two green symbols that are level 3? Since I've leveled them up to level 3, they refuse to go on missions that require level 3 or less. Or level 2 or less. So, if I have a mission that is like recommended for someone that's level 1 or 2, they just refuse to go, because they're like, oh, this is beneath me. I do not wish to go. Send someone else. So, to begin with, you can't really grind out your characters. You can only level them up to level 3, like on the easiest missions. And they have a tendency to die. Like, they gain a lot of negative traits. Here we'll see I'm going through the different heroes. And as you can see, like, on the perks there, like with the split face, they have on the left side positive perks and on the right side negative perks. Now, the negative perks can be really bad. They can be really bad. Like, you can get minuses to certain resistances, like you can gain, like they can gain more stress, they can become forced to do certain actions, like you'll see when we go into the combat phase. But also the positive perks are usually very good, like yeah, you can gain more damage, more critical strike, more speed, so you get to attack first usually in the combat. But that's pretty much it. Now, these are the different locations that you can go and do missions on. As you can see up in the top, you have the Darkest Dungeon already, which is quite interesting, because you can do in this game, you can send an expedition there when they're level 1. You don't have to unlock it. It's unlocked all the time, but they'll probably die. They'll probably die very, very quickly, because it is like made for quite high level characters. But yeah, here you have the different selections, and in each of these areas there is a boss. Or there are several bosses, but you have to work your way up to finding their location. So you see the red bar, when it's filled up, you can go fight the boss. And then you have to go through a dungeon and find the boss in this dungeon, then you gotta kill him. which can be quite hard. I've killed the Necromancer on this playthrough, but nothing else. So this is basically not just enough that the combat is hard and the stress and characters can easily die. You have to have food, torches, different equipment with them so that they can survive, of course. And this costs money. This is where the economic aspect comes like into real display, because yeah, you can stock up on super much stuff, but you fill your inventory, and if you don't use them during the mission, you won't get the money back. So you have to be very balanced with what you send with your group, how you use it, things like this. Like the food is super useful, you can eat it while you're at the mission to heal. Sometimes though you get these cues where you have to eat food, and if you don't have some, they take stress damage, things like this. Now this is an interesting part. You see this like crusted chest? So to open certain things, you need to use certain things. So here I was like, well, you probably need to use a shovel to like break open the chest. And yeah, that opened the chest and I got some extra loot for that. Otherwise, if I would have just tried to open it, my guy would probably have like wounded himself or something like that. Oh, there are traps as well. There are of course traps as well. You can notice these if you have enough light and you have someone that's good at detecting and removing traps. So here we go, into combat. Since my torchlight is quite high, I got a surprise round. So the torchlight is basically a dynamic way to reduce and heighten the difficulty of the combat. The lower your light is while you're exploring, the better loot and the more stuff you find. But the enemies will be stronger, they can surprise you instead of you surprising them, things like that. But if you have a highlight, you get better hit chances, things like this, and you have a higher chance of surprising enemies. But this is basically the combat. So you have these four positions. Now that is very important. The position of your characters determines what skills they can use. So like right now I have my two melee guys in the front, and then I have two kind of ranged spect guys in the back. Now the melee guys, they only have skills basically that they can use when they're in the first or second spot. If they would go back to the third spot, or maybe the fourth, by a skill or by themselves, they would not be able to use a lot of their abilities. Now this leper guy, he's kind of weird. He's kind of like, yes, hurt me. But he's a good tank. He is very tanky. But as you can see, they have two different bars. They have the red bar, which is their health, and then they have a white bar. This white bar is the dangerous part about this, because like the health you can usually heal quite easily. The white bar though, that is your stress. When a character reaches a full stress bar, they get a mania, so to say. It can be positive or it can be negative, mostly negative. There is a small chance that it's positive. And when they gain a negative thing, they start doing things on their own. Like, they can start like taunting or insulting their friends, which makes the friends take more stress damage. They can start like just moving around in combat if they become feared. Like they become afraid of the enemy. They start like trying to go to the back line because they don't want to be in front line fighting. And that can fuck up your entire like composition quite harshly. But yeah, I think the combat in this game is very balanced and quite interesting. So, like as you can see, it's very much turn-based, but I love the way that it's portrayed. Like the feeling of the entire game is great. Like it is supposed to be kind of a Lovecraftian, Call of Cthulhu kind of feeling, and that's what you get from this game. You feel kind of the despair and like, well, this is going to hell kind of feeling. And it often happens. Like it is okay to lose a troop of like certain units if they're not super high leveled. It is okay. It is okay to lose heroes, because you can just recruit new ones. You have them coming in on a bandwagon. But of course, losing someone that is experienced is quite harsh, because you need them for the late game. That's the entire purpose of the like early game. But yeah, as you can see, we're disposing of these guys. Now, the mission that I have on this exploration is to find and kill all enemies that are part of boss battles, so to say. Now, if an enemy is part of a... or room battles is a better way to put it. Room battles is the correct term, not boss battles. So, as you noticed, like when I go to the map, I can go to different rooms, and as I travel, I can find stuff, go into traps. But when I get to the rooms, there's usually something waiting for me. Like here, enemies and a chest. Now I use the skeleton key to open up that chest to get some extra sweet cash. But yeah, the traveling system is quite the important part in this game. Because the way you explore the dungeon can be quite important. Like, you don't want to take extra paths. You don't want to walk for extra long down in this place. So you have to be efficient. You have to go like certain ways all the time. Like, I could have skipped that room that I went to first and just gone straight down to all the other rooms. Luckily I didn't, because there was a room battle there, so that I had to do to complete the entire mission. So if I would have skipped that, like risked on skipping that, oh yeah, this is the thing. This guy, he has to like loot. He has a perk where he has to loot like random stuff. He just, oh well, we can't leave this unexplored, and just, oh well, ah shit, now I got stress. So not the best kind of guy to have with you, but he's a good tank. Anyway, yeah, I could have skipped the first room, but if I would have had to go back, and that would have put the stress up on my characters. Now, one would think that it doesn't really matter as long as they don't reach a limit, but it does. All the stress that they take during the mission, it stays with them. So you have to send them to stress-reducing activities, like going to the bar to drink, going to the brothel to have some company, gambling, praying, like all these different things reduce the stress of the characters. Now, certain characters can only do certain things. That is one of the negative traits. I know that my first paladin, I think, or crusader as they're called, they had this thing where they can only pray for stress relief. So when he has to stress relief, I have to prioritize, like, okay, this guy is going to pray. That's the only thing he's going to do. And the other guys have to do something else, like, because he can only get stress relief from praying. And that is also like one of the management aspects coming into play. So I think this game is great. This game is a good game as well if you get friends over that like strategic games, things like that. You can both sit and play this and just talk shit about it, you know, try to do the tactical things together. It is a great game for streamers. As it showed when it was released, it was very popular. Very popular. And it is basically a great game if you like the kind of Iron Man managing and combat game, kind of like XCOM. So it's a great game for that. I really love it. It's hard, but it's fair. And I love the feeling. I really love the Cthulhu lore, Lovecraftian kind of stuff. So this is great for that. But yeah, we'll be coming to one of the last battles quite soon. I think there's like 1 or 2 rooms left. So let's take up some of the things with this game, I guess, that is not that good. So when I was about to finish the recording of this video, I had the game crash on me. It happens a bit, not an extreme amount. It happened like 1 or 2 times when I played it, like through the entire time that I played, but that's a weird thing, like it being that unstable. Fuck me, those traps. It's kind of sad that I actually didn't. Maybe I should have played so that I got to a boss battle, because the boss battles are a bit more interesting. Like in the regular battles, you only face the guys that you face, and they do their different abilities, like stress-inducing, damaging abilities. Some of them have some. There are some abilities that makes your characters move, like pulling them to the front, things like this, which kind of fucks with you a bit. But the when you fight the bosses, that's when it becomes like super interesting. The boss battles are very intense. They how do you even say this really? They at least when I fought the Necromancer, it was kind of interesting because he is kind of this character. He wants to stand in the back. He just throws like spells and shit at you, and then he raises like skeletons in the front. So when you kill his skeletons, they just fall down, die. But he just, oh yeah, so my turn, raise skeletons. 2 new skeletons appear, and you have to kill them again. And that's kind of interesting. Now I know that I think there are 4 bosses in each of these explorable areas. And what I've been thinking about that I'm not so sure about is, are the bosses, because they're kind of the same. There is like, the boss that I fought is like the Apprentice Necromancer, then there is like Journeyman Necromancer, I think like the last one is the Grandmaster Necromancer or something like that. And I'm wondering, are the bosses all the same, just harder versions of themselves? Because if that's a thing, then it's not that good of a boss design, I gotta say. I hope that they get some different kind of tricks, things like that. Maybe become a bit more gimmicky. As you can see here, I'm trying to cheese the game a bit. You can, in this game, you can't heal outside of combat with your abilities. But what you can do is when there's like 1 or 2 enemies left, you can just spam healing abilities, just try to get you guys up. They did make a countermeasure for this though. If you take too long in a combat, reinforcements start to come. So new enemies start to come. So you have to be kind of careful with that. You can't just spam all the time, but if you know about the time it's taking you to kill like the other units, you can do it a couple of turns. Get some healing off. Super useful. One thing that I didn't even think about with this composition when I like started this mission is that this unit composition is actually really bad. I have no healer at all. I have no healer. I should have had like a warlock or a sorcerer with me. They are like super good healers. And also or a cleric. Clerics are, well, obviously healers, as they are in all games. But here we go, last battle. This is actually kind of a hard one. Oof. Now that's a good play. That's the AI cheating right there. It's like, oh yes, I know that this guy is gonna go next, so I'll just buff him. Because I don't know which order they're going. I don't know which order my guys are going either. So, yeah, I can't really plan like that. The AI can though. I guess that's one thing to mention as well, is the game. The way that the initiative work in this game, it's not like, oh yes, you have this much speed, so your turn will always be on this place, on this spot. No, every time a new turn starts, you re-roll your initiative. So one turn you can be super fucking fast and just do all your turns at once. And the next turn maybe you do 2 of your turns in the beginning and 2 of your turns last. Because you re-roll your initiative all the time, basically. Now these guys are super fast compared to like most units. The undead are like the easiest to fight because they're usually quite slow. You can also fight these like pig people, also very slow. And I prefer having slow enemies, so I might be able to nuke one guy down before they get their turn. That is also always a good thing to try and do. Oh my god, that announcer. I always kind of lose my focus when I hear him because that voice is so good. I kind of have to check out who did the announcements because he is fucking great. If he made voiceovers or things like this for any other game, that would be super interesting. But yeah, that is basically the Darkest Dungeon. I think the game is super interesting. I think it's super fun to just like, this is kind of a game where you can do like, oh yeah, you do a run, start to manage, and then you go like, oh well, I should quit playing, but let's just do one more run. Let's just do one more run. One more. Just keep doing that. And that's how it eats your time. I really like it. I give it a thumbs up. Super good. As I said, the only negative thing that I can think about it is that I guess the crashes that I've had. That is like the only negative thing. Otherwise, it's like quite spot on with this kind of genre. Here I do quite the stupid thing. As I said, you kind of usually need stuff. Like, I would need holy water for this. I was like, well, I can poke that. Well, he got the gambler quirk, so he can only gamble now. But yeah, that has been the Darkest Dungeon. Thank you for watching, guys. Go down, like, subscribe, comment what you think I should do next. Like, what kind of video I should do next. And I'll see you next time.